Welcome to the Deep Dive. We take a stack of sources, we cut through the noise, and when we try to get you the insights that really count. Today we're looking at a name that, let's face it, exploded into public consciousness seemingly overnight, Moderna. That name itself, Moderna, is short for modified RNA, a direct clue to the tech that made them famous with Spikevax, their COVID-19 vaccine. But here's the thing, the real pivot point we want to unpack today. Moderna isn't just about COVID anymore, not by a long shot. They're at this really critical moment trying to shift from being that pandemic powerhouse to something, well, much bigger, more diversified in biopharma. So our mission as we dive into these sources is to get a clear picture of what Moderna is right now and, crucially, where they're trying so hard to go next.
And what's really fascinating, I think, is how they're taking this one core technology, mRNA, and just applying it to an incredible range of different health challenges. We'll look at the leadership, the science itself, which is pretty groundbreaking, their pipeline, which is frankly incredibly ambitious, and the serious financial tightrope they're now walking. Think of this deep dive as your shortcut, getting you quickly up to speed on this very high stakes, high reward company that's kind of rewriting the rules.
Right. And the central question, the real tension here that frames everything is basically this. Can Moderna make that leap? Can they go from being a one-hit wonder, essentially, with Spikevax, to a company with multiple successful products before that huge pile of cash they made during the pandemic, their war chest, just runs out? It feels like a real race against the clock.
It absolutely is. The clock is ticking.
So let's start with that climb. I mean, their rise was meteoric, wasn't it? Spikevax put them on the global stage. They went from, well, relative obscurity to a household name, delivering that vaccine at a speed no one thought possible. But that success, ironically, now creates this huge challenge, what the industry is calling the revenue cliff. And the numbers here are pretty stark. Our sources are projecting sales could drop from, over $18 billion at the peak?
Yeah, peak levels, exactly.
Down to maybe $1.5 to $2.5 billion in 2025. That's not just a dip, it's a free fall.
It sounds dramatic, and it is. But if we step back, connect it to the bigger picture, it's not really a failure per se, it's a transition, a really profound one. They're shifting from this government-funded emergency mass vaccination model.
Right, where demand was basically guaranteed.
It's exactly. To a normal, commercial, endemic market, which is competitive, much harder. And this shift, it forces them into a really aggressive new strategy. And they have maybe a 24 to 36-month window, realistically, to make it work. So the core insight, the investment thesis now, isn't about what they did. It's a pure bet. Can the platform innovate faster than the cash burns? High risk, high reward. That
really puts it into perspective. Okay, so who are the architects behind this? Who envisioned this platform approach from the start? What do the sources tell us about that?
Well, it goes back to 2010. Co-founder Derek Rossi discovered you could use modified RNA for cell reprogramming. That was the scientific spark. But it wasn't just him. You had Robert Langer from MIT, a big name in drug delivery, and critically, Noubar Afeyan and Flagship Pioneering. Their model, venture creation, wasn't about finding one drug. It was about building a company designed from the ground up to exploit an entire platform. Very different thinking.
And then Stefan Bancel comes in as CEO in 2011. He had this vision, right? Treating mRNA like software.
Exactly. Software of life, with the platform as the operating system. Coming from diagnostics, he saw it differently. And that mindset led to these really crucial early bets on automation, digital infrastructure, building their mRNA design studio. People thought it was maybe a bit out there at the time, but that digital core is what gave them that incredible speed during the pandemic. And, the market believed it too. They had that record-breaking IPO in 2018, $621 million at a $7.5 billion valuation. Huge validation back then.
Makes sense. And that leadership team now, it seems crucial. People like Stephen Hoge, the president, key in the vaccine rollout. Jamie Mock, the CFO, managing that shrinking war chest. And Shannon Timeklinger, the CLO, handling all the patent fights, which seem increasingly important.
Yeah, that legal front is definitely heating up.
Okay, but leadership aside, it all comes back to the tech. Let's really get into this mRNA platform. When we say software of life, what does that mean simply for you listening? Think of it like a temporary instruction manual. mRNA carries a specific genetic message to your cells. Tell them, okay, make this protein for a bit. And then, importantly, it disappears. It degrades naturally.
And there are two sort of scientific breakthroughs that make Moderna's platform work so well. First is the mRNA modification. They use these chemically tweaked building blocks, modified nucleosides. Why? Because normal RNA triggers an immune alarm. These modifications help it slip past the body's defenses, makes it more stable, and lets it produce more protein. That's key for effect.
Okay, so it makes the message last longer and work better.
In a way, yes. And the second part is the lipid nanoparticle delivery, the LNP.
Ah, yes, the protective bubble.
Exactly. It's this tiny fat bubble that wraps the fragile mRNA and helps it get inside the cells. Without it, the mRNA would just get queued up in the bloodstream. And just to hammer this home, because there's confusion sometimes, this whole process is temporary. The mRNA delivers its message, the cell makes the protein, the mRNA breaks down. It does not touch or change your DNA.
That's a critical distinction. Okay, and you mentioned the mRNA design studio. This sounds like the heart of their digital biotech idea.
Yeah.
Can you expand on that? How does software speed up drug making?
It really is central. It's this proprietary cloud-based software suite. Scientists use it to rapidly design, test, and optimize potential mRNA sequences digitally. Then, this digital design feeds directly into their automated manufacturing and preclinical testing labs. So what used to take years designing, making, testing a drug candidate, they can now do for thousands of potential candidates in parallel in a matter of weeks.
Thousands in weeks.
Yeah. It's that parallel processing and rapid iteration capability. That was their secret weapon for the COVID vaccine speed. It's a massive advantage.
So when they talk about a platform, it really means something specific. The delivery system, the modifications, that's the hardware, maybe.
Yeah.
And they just swap out the mRNA code, the software, for different diseases.
That's a good analogy, yeah. The core components stay the same, only the genetic instructions change.
And the benefits of that approach.
Oh, they're huge. First, speed. Like we said, new candidates are much faster. Plug and play, basically. Second, reduced risk and cost, relatively speaking. Spikevax's success validates the underlying platform, so the risk shifts. It's less, will the tech work, and more, is this the right disease target?
Right.
Third, scalability and versatility. Because you just changed the code, you can theoretically target almost anything. That's why they have, 48 programs in development now?
48, yeah.
And finally, there's this compounding knowledge effect. The design studio learns. All the data from past experiments feeds back in, making future designs better, faster, more efficient. It creates a kind of data moat.
That sounds powerful, a data moat. But let me push back slightly here based on some analyses. 48 programs, even with a platform, doesn't that just cost an astronomical amount to develop all at once?
That's the crux of it.
Could that platform advantage actually become a financial burden if they spread themselves too thin, especially with that revenue cliff looming?
You've hit the nail on the head. That is precisely the tightrope. The platform is efficient? Yes. But R&D for each program still costs serious money, which is why generating new revenue soon is absolutely critical. Spikevax built the foundation, proved the tech. But now they have to monetize the platform beyond COVID. That next wave of product launches isn't just about growth. It's about survival and validating the whole model commercially.
And we're starting to see that next wave. Their RSV vaccine, MSVA, got approved in May 2024 for older adults. That's the first big step outside COVID. Sales projections are pretty modest initially, maybe $25 million in 2024.
Yeah.
What does that launch tell us?
It's definitely a key test, even if it's early days. It shows they can navigate the regulatory process again and actually launch commercially. But it also underscores the challenge. The traditional vaccine market, like RSV, is crowded. Pfizer's there, GSK's there.
Right.
So mRNA is about more than just the initial dollars. It's proof they can compete head-to-head, build market share outside of that unique pandemic situation. It's about demonstrating commercial capability.
Okay, so mRESVIA is step one. But where's the big money supposed to come from? Where's the revenue hiding that can fill that multi-billion-dollar hole left by Spikevax? According to the sources, it's really buried in that late-stage pipeline, and it's surprisingly diverse. Let's start with the most near-term hope, the respiratory vaccine franchise.
Exactly. This is supposed to be the near-term engine. You've got their seasonal flu vaccine, mRNA 1010. Phase 3 results looked positive back in June 2025. That's huge. Then, arguably the most important near-term one, the flu plus COVID combo shot, mRNA 1083. Also in phase 3.
The convenience factor there seems massive.
Right.
One shot instead of two.
Absolutely. Huge potential differentiator for market share. And they also have a next-gen COVID shot, mRNA 1283, aiming for even better efficacy to keep their foothold there.
Okay, so respiratory is key for near-term cash flow. But the really transformative bet, the one that gets people excited and maybe a little nervous, is oncology.
Yeah.
specifically this individualized neoantigen therapy, mRNA 4157, partnered with Merck. What is this exactly? It sounds like sci-fi.
It's definitely cutting edge. It's personalized cancer vaccines. The process is complex. They biopsy a patient's tumor, sequence it to find unique mutations, these neoantigens, that are specific to that person's cancer.
Okay.
Then they design and manufacture a custom mRNA vaccine just for that patient. The goal is to train the patient's own immune system to recognize and destroy those specific cancer cells, which it wasn't doing before. The big question, the scientific leap here is, can we really teach the body to fight its own specific cancer this effectively?
And the early results were, well, frankly, stunning. That phase 2b melanoma study showed a 44% reduction in risk of recurrence or death when it was combined with Merck's Keytruda.
44%, yeah.
That number just jumps off the page.
Yeah.
It suggests mRNA could be revolutionary beyond vaccines, right into treating cancer.
It absolutely blew people away, a potential game changer. And based on that, it's now in multiple phase 3 trials, melanoma, lung cancer, and phase 2 for things like bladder and kidney cancer. And having Merck as a partner is massive. They bring deep oncology expertise, commercial muscle, and frankly, a lot of funding, which helps de-risk the whole thing for Moderna.
And beyond cancer, there are other shots on goal, too.
Yeah, they haven't put all their eggs in one basket. There is the latent disease area with the CMV vaccine, mRNA 1647 in phase 3. CMV is a major cause of birth defects, so big unmet need. And then rare genetic diseases. Programs for things like propionic acidemia, mRNA 3927, and methylmalonic acidemia, mRNA 3705, are in phase 2. Smaller markets, sure, but potentially high prices per patient if they work.
Okay, the pipeline is broad, it's ambitious, the science sounds incredible, but let's bring it back to the money, because that's where the pressure is intense right now. That revenue cliff is real. We're talking $6.8 billion in 23, down to $3.2 billion in 24, maybe $1.5 to $2.5 billion in 25. And that swing means big losses, like $3.6 billion net loss in 2024.
Yeah, and that leads directly to the burning question. How long can they keep funding all this R&D at this pace without new hits? You can't really use normal valuation metrics right now. It's all about the cash burn versus the cash pile. Luckily, they still have that pandemic war chest.
Right. The sources mentioned $9.5 billion in cash at the end of 2024, which sounds like a lot, but it was $13.3 billion the year before. It's shrinking fast.
Exactly. That cash gives them runway, but it's finite. R&D spending was huge, around $4.5 billion in 2023, driving those losses. So if you do the math, $9.5 billion starting 2025, maybe $6 billion left by the end of 2025. That implies a burn rate around $3.5 billion for the year, which means roughly they have maybe 2, possibly 3 years of cash from early 2025 before they'd really need to raise more money, unless those new products start bringing in serious revenue. So the success of the respiratory vaccines, the oncology program, it's not just about growth, it's about financial survival in the medium term.
2 to 3 years. That's not a lot of breathing room in drug development terms.
And they're not alone in this space, are they? Let's talk competition. It feels dominated by the mRNA duopoly Moderna versus Pfizer BioNTech.
It really is the defining rivalry. Similar tech for the COVID shots, similar initial efficacy rates, fierce competition. Pfizer also seems to have a slight pricing edge in the commercial COVID market now. And what's really interesting is looking at BioNTech's pipeline. Their platforms like FixVac and iNest for personalized cancer therapies, they look remarkably similar to Moderna's oncology approach. So expect intense head-to-head battles across multiple fronts, not just COVID.
And this battle isn't just scientific or commercial, it's legal too. The patent war. Moderna sued Pfizer and BioNTech back in August 2022. What's happening there? That's heating up significantly. Moderna actually scored a recent win in the UK Court of Appeal. The court upheld one of their key patents and agreed it was infringed.
Okay, so that's a point for Moderna. What does that mean practically?
It could be huge. If upheld more broadly or leading to settlements, it could mean a future royalty stream for Moderna from Pfizer-BioNTech's vaccine sales. That's potentially high-margin revenue, and it strengthens their claim as the foundational pioneer. Big implications.
Beyond the big two, are there emerging mRNA players we should watch?
Definitely. You've got CureVac, partnered with GSK, focusing more on oncology now after their first COVID vaccine didn't quite hit the mark. They use unmodified mRNA, a slightly different approach. And then there's Arcturus Therapeutics. They're developing self-amplifying mRNA, or say mRNA.
Self-amplifying. What's the advantage there?
The idea is you need a much smaller dose because the mRNA makes copies of itself inside the cell, potentially leading to a stronger, longer immune response. Their COVID vaccine, Kostiv, is approved in Japan and the EU, so that gives their tech clinical validation. They could be a real disruptor if SAW mRNA proves significantly better.
And don't forget the established giants.
Oh, absolutely. You've got Merck, AstraZeneca, GSK, Sanofi, the big pharma players. They have vast resources, existing infrastructure, and many are building their own mRNA capabilities now, too. It's a crowded field.
Okay, so pulling all these threads together, the science, the pipeline, the cash crunch, the competition, let's summarize the primary growth catalysts. What needs to go right for Moderna? What's the bull case?
All right, the bull case rests on a few key things. One, transformative oncology success. Positive phase 3 data for that personalized cancer vaccine, mRNA 4157. That would be massive validation beyond vaccines, huge market potential. 2, solid commercial execution of the respiratory franchise. Launching the flu and combo vaccines successfully is crucial for replacing revenue and funding everything else. Stable income. 3, pipeline maturation. Getting positive data from CMV, from the rare disease programs, showing the platform works broadly. And 4, favorable patent litigation outcomes. Winning those lawsuits or reaching good settlements could bring in significant, high-margin royalty cash.
Makes sense. But let's flip that coin. What are the significant risks, the headwinds? What's the bear case?
Well, the biggest risk is clinical or regulatory failure. If mRNA 4157, the big oncology bet, fails in phase 3, that would be a major blow to confidence and the long-term story. Second, intense competition and pricing pressure, especially in respiratory vaccines where they're up against established players. Can they really grab significant market share? Third, that cash burn. If the new products don't launch successfully or ramp up revenue quickly enough within that 2 to 3 year window, they might have to raise money when their stock price is weak. That's dilutive and difficult. And finally, there are always long-term safety questions and public perception issues. Any unexpected rare side effects, even theoretical concerns, plus general vaccine hesitancy could impact uptake across the board.
So you have this incredible potential on one side, serious risks on the other. It's no wonder analysts seem so divided on valuation. That whole consensus hides a huge range in price targets, right? From like $18 up to nearly $200.
Exactly. It reflects that uncertainty. The critical question for investors, for anyone watching, is how much of the potential upside is already priced in versus how much weight is given to the risks. The current thinking, reflected in many source analyses, is that the market probably expects the respiratory launches to be moderately successful, but it's likely discounting the odds of the huge oncology win pretty heavily. So the next 12, maybe 24 months, they're absolutely critical. It's make or break time for Moderna's trajectory over the next decade. We'll see which scenario plays out.
So wrapping up this deep dive, Moderna is undeniably a fascinating story, polarizing even. You've got this company built on truly revolutionary, validated science, but facing just immense commercial and financial pressure as it tries to make this incredibly difficult pivot away from just being the COVID vaccine company.
That's right. Investing in or even just following Moderna now isn't about looking back at Spikevax. It's a forward-looking bet on their ability to execute, to deliver commercially on the promise of that broad mRNA platform, and to do it now.
Okay, so let's leave our listeners with a final thought to chew on. Considering Moderna's whole digital biotech philosophy, that speed they showed, what other big global challenges, maybe even outside of medicine, do you think could be transformed if we started treating biological processes more like software?
That's a great question. Thinking about biology as code, it really opens up possibilities, doesn't it? Something to definitely keep in mind as we watch how platform technologies like mRNA continue to evolve.